Hey everybody, it's Kate Richburg. How are you on this Friday? It is Friday, August 5th, and here we are ready to go. I'm trying to move my camera around so I look centered and ready to go. Um, wow, you guys liked these new strands today, and that's what we're going to talk about. Oh my goodness. I was super excited to wake up this morning and see the newsletter and then see that you guys jumped in and are collecting these strands because no two are alike. So I'm going to talk a little bit this Free Tip Friday. I just went around and gathered a bunch of random stuff, and we're going to see how it all comes out in the wash because I love wire and I know that you love wire. So since we all love wire so much, I thought today would be a great day to jump in and play with wire. So let's get oh, I'm glad Kim, I think when I moved my camera, I think I put your comment up there, Kim. I am glad you're excited to see these strands because I am excited to show them to you. So let me show you right now. Okay, so this is what I've got going on here. And I found these at um, a gem show I went to not too long ago. And I bought a whole bunch because you guys are liking the mixed strands, right? I'm liking the mixed strands. You guys like our table cut strands. And I think I've got one of those yellow ones here, these strands that we sell, these shorter strands with the table cuts. So I thought that you guys would love this mix of the Chinese crystal. Now, this Chinese crystal, each one of the strands is kind of different, I guess, is what I want to say. Some of the same beads are on them. However, they're mostly like random mixes, and they're really inexpensive. They're $6.95 a strand. You can use your discounts or your loyalty points or whatever on them, and it really makes them a super affordable and fun bead to kind of play around with. Okay, so first, well, I just pulled these two random ones before I sent them off to be distributed to you guys. Some are large, some are small. And I'm going to point out some may have a couple of flaws just because they're about 15 and a half inches. You can't see that because I'm off the side there, but about 15 and a half. Because the way that these beads were, they were all kind of jumbled in a box when I got them. So mostly they look great. A few I noticed, like on this pearl, the pearl, this is peeling a little bit. And it's just, these are inexpensive, like kind of plastic pearls. So you're not really buying these for the pearls anyway, but you may find that there may be a little bit of a flaw in there. But for the most part, each one of these beads is pretty pristine. And you can see they go from really big, like this big giant blue one, um, like this. This one here, um, I'll tell you. That's almost 24. You can see that. That's almost 24 millimeters by about 20 millimeters. And then there's like this giant round one here, 20 millimeters. So again, these are beads that are kind of left over from the factories that they're not really sure, what the heck to do with them. So some of them might not be perfect, but I'm going to show you, we're going to work with wire today. So the beads don't have to be super perfect in order for them to really shine and show up. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these strands open. They're strung right now on this fishing line. And the fishing line, I'm going to measure it for you. It's about, if I don't squeeze it, about 6 millimeters here. So you can see, and some of the bead holes are quite a bit larger than that. You can see that here. So the bead holes are nice and large, okay? And you get, as I say, about 15.5 inches in a variety of sizes and shapes. So this is 2 strands that I've got. And we've got kind of a limited amount. I didn't buy a bunch. Hopefully, if you guys like them, we can get them back in. They're going to be different each time. Okay, so some of them have that Chinese crystal, some have just pressed glass, some of them have those faux pearls. Like this faux pearl's in good shape. So that one here that's had that little mark on it, I'm just going to consign it to, as we like to call it here, the round file. That one goes away. But let me go ahead. I'm going to cut this one up too. So I've got a bunch. Now, these would be fun just, I don't know, just stringing them, right? You could get your bead board out and graduate the beads, right, in size. You could sort them by shape or by color. However you want to start tackling something like this. I love this, like just big, giant, round bead, glass bead here. It looks kind of like an orb. Yeah, this hole size, if I go to this hole size and I use my caliper for it, this hole size is about 1.9 millimeters or so. And this is a big bead, 17 millimeters, you can see. So you can sort them by color, which I always think is a good way to go. If you ever watched when we did that challenge, when I did that challenge for, it was the artist, I was going to say artistic wire, but that wasn't it. The Beetle-on challenge, I think. It might have been the Mojo challenge, where we had designers from all over compete and make a piece, and I won that first year with that crazy wire necklace thing I made, which was super fun to do. But that's kind of how I tackled that project. Was I jumped in and I started arranging things by color. Okay, let me get a little closer here. Whoops. And my camera. Sorry about that. There we go. My camera went dark there for a second. Sorry about that. So these are all, so this is a great question. Audrey has a question. It's not a dumb question at all. How can you tell the difference between crystals, glass, fire, and fire polish beads? Okay, let me tell you. Do I have any? Okay, let me turn around here and grab, since I am in my studio, I have an old box. These are my personal beads of Austrian crystal beads. These are probably over 50 years old. They're the Rivolis. Remember those old days of the making seed bead pieces around them, right? So these are the Austrian crystal beads. Can you see that flash and the fire here like this? These Austrian crystal beads are leaded glass, okay? And that leaded glass and the precise faceting, and this says DS and Co. That means Daniel Swarovski and Company. So these are old, you guys. So, and they're mine. Sorry, you don't get these. But I want to show you the difference, okay? So take a look. These are these kind of new, what they're calling Chinese crystal. They're actually glass beads, right? Crystal is also glass, right? But it's a leaded glass, and these have been precisely made, precision made, vintage. So can you see the difference between like the sharpness? You can almost see it on the back here where they've been foiled. The sharpness of the cuts versus these have been pressed out by machine. A lot of the old Swarovski like this was made and then faceted by machine like a gemstone. Okay, so this is kind of a walk down memory lane from my own personal Swarovski collection. So when we say crystal beads, we usually refer to the Swarovski brand. Okay. In China, now a lot of beads are being made in Chinese factories. And you can see, like this one here, they call this Chinese crystal. It's glass, it's not leaded, it's the quality is not quite the same as the Swarovski beads, right? If this were a Swarovski bead, and now, as you know, there's been kind of a change in the Swarovski leadership. So Swarovski beads aren't really being sold to the DIY market anymore. There are some other crystal bead vendors that are stepping up to the plate to kind of fill that void. But if this were a crystal bead, these would be like, instead of $6.95 for this whole strand, this would probably be $6.95 for this bead. Okay, if that makes sense. And the colors are not as saturated because back in the day, I'm trying to see if I have something else here in my vintage stash. Back in the day when these beads were made, they were just made differently. The recipes, I guess, for the glass and stuff was just different. They used different minerals and things to make those beads, the color so much more saturated. I'm looking in here. My mom so generously started to help me organize some of my beads. Like, let's look at this red, okay? This is a vintage glass bead. Let me grab this and let me grab this. This is also out of my stash, okay? This is an old vintage, this is a Czech glass bead, that red, and this is an old Czech glass. Here's one of these red lentils that are there. That red actually is a pretty good color. It's really vibrant. Sometimes the reds can be not quite so true, but those reds actually are really great. These are just a pressed glass. But you can see, look at the difference here in the hole size. One has a giant hole size and one has a small hole size. Okay. And so it just kind of depends. Purple is another one. Let me talk to you a little bit about purple. Let me see in my drawer that my mom so generously I'll have to show the camera on here someday in my drawers of my personal bead collection. Let me grab something out of here. Um, can you hear me rooting around in here? Here we go. That's a good one. Hang tight, everybody. Hang tight. This is a good one. So this is an old Swarovski right here, a 2-hold Swarovski. And though it's not quite the same color, can you see the difference in the shine of the bead? Does that make sense to you? Can you see how this is a leaded glass and this is a Chinese quote unquote crystal glass bead? Still amazing, still beautiful, still big. You know, a great one. Kim is saying the Czech company, Preciosa Czech Glass, they are trying to step in and grab that Swarovski vacancy. You know, I don't think that they are actually leaded because now so many of the laws around leaded glass and lead in jewelry, my right off the bat, right off the top of my head, I would probably say no. But they are they are making some beautiful beads that are really stepping up. You can see here's some more of these. These are just vintage purple ones that I have here. And again, you can see that purple color is kind of a saturated, saturated purple. But anyway, so that gives you a little bit of a comparison there. So let's get back to these that I have in front of me that I'm still kind of sorting by color. These red and pink here. This red faux pearl. There's a few here that I might reject. I'm rejecting them as we speak, and I'm rejecting that one. Okay, so here's some blue. And again, you might have one or two on here that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna say no to those. But look at all that green there that we've got to work with. We've got some black there. This I'll go to the green pile. The green pile. I'm kind of putting the clear and the blue together, so I'll do that. There are my purples. That looks like does that look purple or brown? Maybe it's brown. I can't tell. I'll put that over there. Maybe I'll put that yellow one over there. It's hard to decide, isn't it? Which beads kind of go in which color family. Those will kind of go in the brown. This pink I'll put with that purple. And then that clear. Okay. So here it is, right? So here's my color, my color palettes. Okay. So I kind of like this icy blue color tone that I've got going on here. So I think that's what I'm going to work with. Though I also like these greens. I don't know. I can mix them up too, whatever. Let me get some of my little dishes though. 2 strands of these I think would be great because you can kind of play around with them. Pardon me. And then make some of your own little color mixes. And then just incorporate these into, I don't know, whatever it is you're making, you know, whatever ideas pop into that designer head of yours. Here's these green ones. This is a little bit of a bigger bowl, but I'll put the green ones in there. Those look real pretty. Look at this nice big briolette, right? Really pretty. Which I like. And then these reds, I'm going to throw these reds in with the purples right there. Okay, so here are my blue. And look at they have these kind of weird, funky heart things in there that are kind of cool. Here's another one. I'm not a real heart person, but I kind of like this, what I would call a wonky shaped heart. This is a long drop like this. I've got these like Hope diamond size pieces here. Okay, so let's take a look. I got some leather cord for these, but I think I grabbed the wrong color. I grabbed this violet, which is interesting, but I think I need something more neutral. So I'm gonna grab it. We've got you know how we make the It's a Lot of Leather? Well, I've got a bunch of just bits of It's a Lot of Leather. Here's some 1 millimeter. This is the Pacific Blue. This will work. And plus I can see if any of these strands fit through leather. Let's take a look and see here. This is 1 millimeter. And this is, as I said, that Pacific Blue. So let me get this. I'm going to reel off, I don't know, about a yard or whatever. I don't know. Let's see that. My picture's clear, so if you're having a blurry issue, you may want to pop out and pop back in. It may just be your connection or your stream. So double check that and make sure that you are connected maybe via your Wi-Fi and not via streaming. So can you see here? This is a 1 millimeter right here. Look at how pretty that is, right? And that goes through there really nicely. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to tie this on here. I'm going to go once. I'm going to go twice. And I'm going to tie that knot. Some of these smaller beads may not have that size hole, but once, twice, and I'll go through here. There we go. So let's see, I was really loving this round one. Yep, that goes through. Does this one go through? It sure enough does. Look at those already. Didn't I say I was going to use wire? Didn't I say that? I'm going to have to use some wire here in a second. And let me tie this one. And I'm doing that doubled over knot, so it's a nice chunky knot, and so it sits nice and even. Let me put on this one. Will this go through? Yes. Yes, my darlings. It will. I think it's time for some wire. So I'm just gonna, there's this weird little chunky drop thing here. There's a couple like that. They're two different beads, but that doesn't bother me so much. Let me see. Maybe if I put one on my head pin. Do I have any ball head pins? I just have flat ones sitting here. But you know what I do have? I also grabbed out of my random bin. I grabbed some daisy spacers. So I'm going to stack some. Who was that designer? You remember, gosh, we sold these daisy spacers like by the billion, right? Remember, Janice, we'd make those bracelets. They were really, now here are two beads that kind of match, that do match. But maybe I want one that's, let me see. Okay. Again, we just sold these. We just sold them like crazy with those bracelets. Let me just wire wrap this. Bend up and over, down and under. I need a small loop. We've got on beadshop.com our skill builders on how to wire wrap. One of my, I don't know if they posted it in the group or if they just posted it to my Facebook wall, but someone posted an old class schedule that they still had in their drawer from when Bead Shop was a brick and mortar. I have a lot of those in our archive, but it was kind of cool to see it. So I would teach wire wrapping like, it felt like once a week, but at least twice a month we would do that. Okay, so that, oh, and I told myself I wouldn't forget. I also got out these soldered rings, but I also have jump rings. And I was just watching, Netflix has a bio, no, maybe not Netflix, maybe it's Prime, I don't know which one it is, has a biography about Halston. And not the one, not the mini series that just came out with Ewan McGregor, but this is a just kind of a, you know, like a biography, TV biography or movie biography, whatever, that was filmed a few years ago. And Elsa Peretti, you know, the great Elsa Peretti jewelry designer, she passed away a couple years ago now, I think. But she started working for Halston, and he's the one who got her into Tiffany. But she was her gig was that she really liked to kind of mix things up, you know, and had very interesting, unique, sleek lines in her jewelry. So I'm taking this inspiration from Elsa today to make a pair of earrings that are going to go with this, that are asymmetrical. And it talks about how, and I didn't realize this until I watched the autobiography, that he was a milliner, Halston was, before he was Halston, the dress designer. And this biography talks about it, shows his dress patterns, and it shows how he, you know, was really cutting on the bias and doing all this kind of very interesting stuff pretty early on. And so, I don't know, it was just kind of cool. So anyway, that was I guess I'm trying to channel what would Elsa Peretti do if she was faced. Maybe I want that blue one down there because that feels a little dark. If she were faced with these beads right now. So I'm using, these two beads are kind of uniform. One's a little bit bigger, one's a little bit smaller. One, the shape of these other beads are the same, but they're two different colors. I like an asymmetrical earring. Just ask my mom. There we go. I like the looks of that. Let's go ahead and wire wrap that sucker. And see, since I wire wrapped it, I also put it on a loop. This is a soldered ring, the big one. It's the 8mm, and then I'm using the 5mm antique silver jump rings. So let me, to be honest, I don't see, take a look at this wire wrap that's here that's connecting to that ring. I feel to my eye it's breaking things up too much. I'm going to cut it away. Let me get rid of that. I think I just want a loop. And sometimes you have to make it and cut it up to see it. You know what I mean? So let me put these back on. This on. So this guy. All of these daisy spacers. You couldn't toss a baseball without hitting one of those bracelets. And remember, it had like garnet or whatever gemstone was in between with a little silver or gold spacer around the gemstone with these little daisies. I bet some of you have one of those in your jewelry boxes. Right? Pearl, all of that went so well together. So there we go. I like the looks of this. It has a little, as Janice would like to say, it looks a little less agricultural and a little more slimmed down. So I'm going to open up this jump ring now and connect that jump ring to the loop that I made. It might have been John Hardy. That sounds familiar. JP, I'll have to look it up. There we go. See how much that looks better? How much better, rather, that looks than having that giant wire wrap there, right? Don't you feel that? I feel that too. Let's go ahead and it'll be about the same length. So let me just go ahead and bend that one over, cut, loop, and then I will get these guys ready to go. This 5mm, this is a heavy gauge, that's an 18 gauge, so it's nice and heavy, so it's not going to pull out. See how I use those two? And then this, open, put it through that big, these are soldered rings, 8mm, put that through, close it up. So there we have a nice pair of asymmetrical earrings. We threw those out, just threw those out as, an asymmetrical kind of a design, which I like. Let's go ahead and throw that one on. Let's see, since we're doing asymmetry, right? I like the looks of, and this one goes on. It's a little tight, but it goes on just fine. I'm going to string these on this leather until I run out of beads to string with, I think. You could also use some silver in here if you wanted. Do I want like a trio of these drops together? Maybe. Maybe that's too close. Let's see, does this round go on? It does. I also had in my random stash of beads that you should always have in your bead box, these coils. I'm going to use that to kind of mimic that daisy spacer thing I have going on. This knot is not right. You tighten it up, pull it down. There we go, that's better. Now I think it's time for this. What was that from the movie Titanic? The Heart of the Ocean. Wasn't that what it's called? That big blue one. Let's see if the Heart of the Ocean wants to go on it. Negative. Does it want to go on this side? No, that one's too small. Oh well. Too bad, Heart of the Ocean. You get passed up. Let's put this one on. You could also do this with 0.5. Oh, sorry. Was I out of camera range? Sorry about that. Sorry. I need someone to tap me. So there we go. I really want this one to fit. I really want to use it. I can see that the hole narrows in the center. Well, I'll hold that one aside for the moment. That guy doesn't really fit. Let's do an intentional repeat with these two. There we go. Yeah, Janice is talking about the new pearls we're launching in September. We were looking at them yesterday, she and I. We've got 13 new pearls that are launching. Let's see if this heart will go on. It will indeed go. So what I've got, I'm kind of doing this upside down. Yeah, maybe I'll wire wrap it. I don't know. This needs a knot. 1 and 2. Okay. Something's forming here. I'm getting there. This guy. Put this bead on. Yep, that fits. So we're kind of even here. I didn't really mean for that to end up in the center, but it kind of did. All right, like that. I still have those guys. These don't quite fit. That one was a little too small. Maybe I'll finish with this small one just to throw that in there. There we go. So now, what do? Right? You've got kind of this business here. You've got this cord. What is it that you do next? Well, if I had some chain, some heavier chain, We've got some really nice heavy chain online. Unfortunately, I don't have any in my studio. I've got to order some so I have it. The chain would look great. We could continue. I think I want a few of these on that side to offset those. Like this. And maybe since I want to do it in threes, I'll do these here too. Okay. So now I could use a transition bead. I could use something else. I don't know what. But I feel like this section is ready to be finished somehow. So I'm going to grab some, I'm just going to silk wrap it, I think. I used some indigo yesterday. I think this is it. I think this is indigo. I'll use that. Let's see, what else do I have floating around here? Anything else good? Well, that'll work. So I'm going to get this, and I'm just going to wire wrap, not wire wrap, but silk wrap the end so I've got a loop. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to silk wrap this so that one of those coils is at the end. Okay. Because again, I can't see the finish line. I have no idea what the finish line is going to be. So this will come around. We do have some freshwater pearls on the site now, or you may have some in your stash. This might look kind of cool connected to a strand of pearls. I'm going to make a pretty long silk wrap. This is in our skill builder section. Sorry, I'm focusing on my wire wrap here. I mean my silk wrap here. We've got our skill builder on silk wrapping. Sorry, I'm going to try and stay in frame here. There we go. And having this little round coil spacer kind of acts like a jump ring. So I can connect something to it. I'm not sure I want to cut that leather off quite yet. I could use a thread burner, but I'm going to do that. Okay. So there's that closure. Now, someone said button closure. I do have one of these swirl buttons. And I think I have a long enough end here. Let me lift this camera up so you can see all that I'm doing. I have not measured this. No, I have no idea. No clue. Zero. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm just going to eyeball it if that were to come around. Let's go ahead and silk wrap this sucker. Nancy has a good question. Would a bead reamer work for that heart of the ocean bead? Possibly, especially if you use it wet. You have to, those diamond bead reamers, they do work, but this glass might be a little fragile. But if you don't mind sacrificing it, or you can try it on something else that may not be quite as dear, then you can see, I would do it by hand. I wouldn't use an automatic like a Dremel or anything like that. And what I would do is I would dip that bead underwater, and I'd dip the tip of my bead reamer underwater as well. And I would ream very slowly, letting the tool do the work. So that goes through. And that tightens down. Okay. And again, that silk wrap, we've got a really good skill builder that I am going to get rid of. And I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to get rid of this. Now, I'm going to come in here. This now is doubled, so I might silk wrap it a few more times along here, or I could have used like a transition crimp or something. But just to hold this button where I want it, let's silk wrap it again. And notice how that Pacific blue and this indigo, how this is all of the stringing materials here are kind of background noise for what I'm doing, right? Everything kind of matches, which is kind of on purpose. I'm trying to let these beads be the showcase here. This button is our swirl button. I like it a lot, so that's probably why I have one floating around here. But you could use any button you wanted. Whoops, pulled too far, so I need to pull it back. Then pull on both. Hopefully, yep, that's even. You could use the thread burner or your clippers. I'm just going to clip. So now, let's take a look. Yeah, I'm getting rid of this. I don't want it, so I'm going to get rid of it. Let's clear the decks here and see what we've got. Okay, so we've got this coming around. This, again, I would silk wrap. I kind of want this closure on the side. So let's get this big bead in there. Okay. I don't know. I have 24 gauge here, which is all that I could find. I'd probably use 22 gauge if that's, that might be a little bit better, but 24 gauge will be fine. I'm going to make a wire wrap loop. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go around. I'm not going to make the loop real big. Okay. I'm going to stick it through that coil that we had here. And I'm going to wire wrap this sucker. I don't know, about 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Can you see that? Let me get a little closer. Okay. Now, since I'm wishing that this were 22 gauge and I don't have any sitting right here in front of me, I'm going to wrap back, up, and over the wire wrap, so visually it's a little heavier. Can you see that? I'm going to press that in. Then, I guess I should have checked this before, but I knew it would fit on that 24 gauge. No problem. There's a little too much leather there for my liking. Let me get rid of that. Okay. So now I need to make a closure. It's going to fit around this button and also maybe fit around this wire. I want it to look the same. Did I use all? Oh, I didn't. I've got one more coil. Okay, so this is about right to go into that button. Can you see that? And this can go like so. We call this our trails end closure. And again, this could be macrame or whatever, but since I'm on a silk wrap kick. And remember, this all started, you guys, because I separated these into colors. And so I want this closure, these two closures, to be about the same size. They don't have to be exactly the same. But I don't want a giant loop down there. And I don't want a giant loop up here either. So if I need to adjust that before I tighten everything, I can do that. That should fit through my button. Can even be a little bit smaller. Can I get it? Yeah. Yeah, that'll go through. See that? Now I'll finish my silk wrap. Can I get it around one more time? And then I'll pull on this side. Pull on both of these sides. That side on my left hand is a little short, so I'm gonna use my pliers to kind of help me tighten those. There we go. So now I'll cut off the tails. I'm going to go there and there. I don't know if you guys can hear that airplane, but today, since we're having a little bit of inclement weather here in Fresno, which is unusual for July, looks like the flight path is going right over our house. Like really right over. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and bend, make that loop. Now, before I get too excited, see, here's that little connection I made. Can you see that there with that little coil spacer? The coil spacers, the pony beads, the Pony Express beads, those 6 cents beads, all the beads in our metal bead category, you guys, those are great to have in your stash because it really allows you I don't know, to add little bits of metal right where you need them. And Sylvia, that's a good question. I'm going to put it up on the board here in just a second because once I finish this, I want to talk about what you're asking. So I've got this big sucker here, and I think, I don't know, and if I don't like it, I can cut it away. But I think I want to add a little bit of wire since I have this giant tail. I don't know if it adds or takes away, but sometimes I need to see it. So I'm going to see it. What would Elsa Peretti do? Elsa would probably have left it alone, but maybe not. Maybe she would have wrapped it. Who else designed for Tiffany? Paloma, right? Paloma Picasso. Maybe I should ask what Paloma would do. Or perhaps they should be asking what would Kate Richburg do. Maybe that's what I need to focus on. So I'm using every single little inch, quarter inch, eighth of an inch of that wire. Okay, like so. Then I'll come in and I'll tighten. And see how I've deliberately, this wire isn't very tight, which allows me to make those little tightening bits, right? I can see underneath here, if you look to the side, you can see that there's movement on this wire. If the wire were super tight, when I'd grab and do that quarter turn, it would snap the wire. So I'm just gonna do this. Maybe that wants to be up here. There we go. And it does it without marking the wire because there's just enough. Okay. So let's see how this all comes together. Okay. And so let me see if I've got a neck to hang this on. And so the question that Sylvia had was, and I want to put it up here, when designing a necklace with various size stones like this, what's my process to make sure the weight works so it hangs correctly? That's a great question that I just kind of do internally, but let me see if I can talk about it. I try, like, see here, if I had really thought about this portion here, I think it's going to sit okay because I've got this big bead over here, right? And that big bead over there. If I were going to do this again, right, I might switch out maybe I'd put this bead over here. Maybe, I don't know, but I like this intentional repeat. maybe this needs a bigger bead, but can you also see though that they're the same length? So maybe I wouldn't change anything. And you can see I put this button, so the button is on the side. This needs to come together here. This needs some silk wrapping, like probably 3 of them, to hold that together because I don't love how that comes apart, but we don't need to deal with that now. This also needs a little bit of thread burning, so I'm going to get my thread burner and I'm going to thread burn that because I don't want to see, even though that this is kind of asymmetrical and off the cuff, doesn't mean that the workmanship should be shoddy, right? So I'll come in, I'm going to get my thread burner, and I'm just going to burn away. Make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. I'm going to burn away that little bit of excess. Okay, and I'm going to check all of these to make sure, because again, Halston wouldn't send something down the runway that wasn't perfect, right? So regardless of how deceptively simple it might look, the technique needs to be right. There we go. That looks good. Let me check that one. That's why even though I use thread snips, using that little thread burner to kind of cauterize that thread will make it sit just perfectly. So let me get a neck, okay? And let's look at this from the front view. Let me see. Yeah, Calder is great. When I had my brief stint over at the SF MoMA a while back, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art has a pretty big Alexander Calder collection. It's pretty cool to see. So let's take a look and see. Let me turn this so you can't see that part of my studio that doesn't look that great yet. So here's this neck, and then I'll hold it up. So can you see how when this is going to sit, let me look at it straight on. So can you see on this side, the button is going to sit about here. Then it'll go to our wire-wrapped Heart of the Ocean. Then that center will actually dangle center, right? So if I were to put this on, let's see where it hits me. And see, I have no idea how long this is. 0, 0, 0, 0. So let me measure it before I put it on. 18 is what I'm guessing. That's usually my default, and I usually make things fit me. This is 20. So this will hang a little lower. Let's see. Oh yeah. So see, I kind of know my default. Oops, sorry, you can't really see it with my polka dots, but let me get rid of these earrings and throw these earrings on. Kind of hard to see with my dots. Let's see, this needs to go over here. That way. Nancy, bring it to the retreat. I'll bring it to the retreat. I will, because you're going to be there. I'm going to see you in like 2 weeks. I've got a lot to do between now and then. So see, here's those asymmetrical earrings, right? And so so you can see the button is sitting, it's sitting right there. And if this didn't have this dangle center, I mean, I could wear it to the side if I wanted anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to dangle to the middle, right? But I do need to wire to silk wrap. these guys so this leather holds together. But that's it, right? So that was truly, you guys, off the cuff. There was no planning, but you can see how it goes here, here, and then here. And I'm going to bring it back under this camera just so we can see kind of the unifiers that I used for this. Okay. I went ahead and I sorted by color. All right. And I kind of lumped the clear and the blue together. Right. I sorted by color. I used this coil spacer in threes to kind of give it something that, that was cohesive. I used a silver button. Since this piece, I think it's the better for it. It's more interesting, I think, anyway, that this bead didn't really fit on that leather. So I did that whole wire wrapping thing over the bead, and I used those coil spacers yet again as jump rings. And then the backdrop of this with the blue, the Pacific blue, I think it actually goes this way. There we go. The Pacific blue leather and that indigo Ceylon. This leather is a 1 millimeter, so that's why many of these, not all, but many of these big Chinese crystal beads went on there. And then let me get these guys on here too. Okay, so that was a little bit of a lesson in improv today. Did a little bit of wire wrapping. I thought I might have more wire, but I was just kind of moved by this blue. I'll finish up and silk wrap these. I'll bring this to the retreat so you guys can see it, those of you who are going. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that piece. It was fun to make it, Sometimes when you give yourself, like that was kind of a limited palette, right? My assignment, I guess, was to take those strands and make some kind of sense for them for you on air, right? So I would, I think it's a fun kind of exercise to take those beads. You can take beads right out of your stash, and not really pay attention to what it is you're taking, right? Just kind of jump in, grab some things, and start working. I mean, if this didn't work or if I hadn't have liked it, I could just as easily cut it up, and tried something else to it. So I used 2 strands of the new mixed Chinese crystal strands. So we're about halfway sold out on those if you're watching us on Friday, August 5th. So those are available. Janice is asking if anyone is interested in signing up for the retreat. Are there still spaces? There are, though we're closing the enrollments like soon because the retreat balance is due today. But if you are watching this and you think about it over the weekend and you're like, yes, I want to join you guys, we still have a couple of spots available in the beautiful St. Francis Retreat Center of California here in the California coast, near the California coast in San Juan Bautista, California. So Emily and I will be there. So there's more info about that on the website. So just as a reminder, since I jumped in so quickly, don't forget, you guys, to follow us over on our website or on our Instagram rather, at beadshop.com. You can find us there. Do give us a tag or a shout out so we can add your piece to our stories. We love to highlight the things that you make. You can also join us at the Bead Table, our Facebook group. We'd love to have you over there. Allie just posted some beautiful things she did with the Picking Poppies mix and our new poppy beads, the monthly mix for July. There's still a few of those left as well. So If you do want that mix, I would urge you to grab that. And of course, you can like, subscribe, and hit those notifications right on our YouTube channel so you never miss a broadcast. And we thank you so much for watching. All of the information on the project and the products from today's website, or from today's broadcast, are going to be on the website. I'll bring this over, or I'll take a photo of this and send it over to Drea. We'll at least have it in the newsletter. I'm not sure quite where this will end up, but you'll be able to see this again as reference. You can sign up, as I say, for our newsletter for the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products. I've got so many things sitting here that are going to be whisked away for you guys to check out very soon for the end of August and into September. Well, thanks so much, you guys. I will see you next Wednesday. We've got a new kit release, the 4th colorway in my beach glass kit, and you've seen me make bracelets with them. On Wednesday, I'm going to show you how I take that same kit and I make that kit into a necklace. More leather and knotting and creativity awaits. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend all, and I will see you soon. Thanks again.